This couple bought an abandoned 1940s grain elevator for $28,000 and turned it into a stunning 3,200 square foot home for a total investment of $185,000. I'm showing you 3 abandoned building transformations that cost less than new construction, the legal nightmares you need to avoid, and the one critical inspection that determines whether an abandoned building is a gold mine or a money pit. What you're about to see will either inspire you to find your own abandoned building or save you from making a catastrophic mistake. If you've ever driven past an old warehouse, church, or factory and thought it could be an amazing home, smash that subscribe button right now. I'm breaking down the real process, real costs, and real dangers of adaptive reuse projects with documentation and lessons from people who've actually done it. This could be your path to an incredible unique home for half the cost of building new. Let's get into it. There are millions of abandoned buildings across America. Old schools, churches, factories, warehouses, gas stations, firehouses, even grain silos. These structures sit empty, deteriorating, often available for shockingly low prices. For the right buyer with vision, skills, and patience, these buildings can become extraordinary homes at a fraction of new construction costs. But the process is complex, risky, and not for everyone. Today I'm walking you through exactly how it works, what it costs, and what can go wrong. Why abandoned buildings make sense. Let's start with why people pursue these projects instead of building new or buying existing homes. The cost advantage. Abandoned buildings often sell for the land value or less. A 5,000 square foot warehouse might cost $40,000 in a rural area. That same building would cost $600,000 to $1 million to build new. Even spending $250,000 on renovations puts you at $290,000 total for 5,000 square feet. That's $58 per square foot. Unique architecture. Old buildings have character that new construction can't replicate. Exposed brick walls, timber beams, high ceilings, large windows, industrial details. These features are expensive to create new, but come built in with old structures. Structural bones already exist. The foundation, walls, and roof structure are already there. These are expensive components in new construction. If they're sound, you've got a massive head start. Sustainable building. Reusing existing structures is environmentally responsible. You're not consuming new materials or creating construction waste. Adaptive reuse is one of the greenest building approaches. Location opportunities. Abandoned buildings often sit in interesting locations, downtown areas, near waterfronts, on large properties. These locations might not have buildable lots available at affordable prices. The 3 transformations we're analyzing. Project 1. The grain elevator transformation. Let's start with Mark and Lisa's grain elevator project because it shows the extreme end of adaptive reuse. The purchase and initial assessment. Mark and Lisa found the abandoned grain elevator listed online for $28,000. It had been empty for 35 years. The concrete structure was intact, but everything else was deteriorated or missing. Before buying, they hired a structural engineer to inspect it. Engineer's fee, $1,800. The engineer confirmed the concrete structure was sound with no major cracks or foundation issues. This inspection saved them from buying a disaster. The legal challenges. The property was zoned agricultural, and grain elevators aren't listed as residential structures. Mark and Lisa had to apply for a zoning variance to convert it to residential use. This process took 4 months and required presenting plans to the zoning board, getting neighbor approval, and paying legal fees. Zoning variance process cost $4,200 in legal fees and applications. The variance was approved because the building was an eyesore and the town wanted it renovated. But this could have been denied, leaving them with an unusable building. The renovation breakdown. Structural repairs to concrete, ceiling cracks, and waterproofing. $12,400. New roof structure and metal roofing over the top. $18,000. Cutting window openings in concrete walls, 8 windows total, $14,500. Installing windows with steel frames, $11,200. Insulation, spray foam throughout interior, $22,000. Interior floor systems, they created 3 levels with steel and wood framing, $28,000. Electrical system, complete new service and wiring, $16,500. Plumbing system, all new including bringing water and sewer to the property, $21,000. HVAC, mini split system with multiple zones, $13,500. Interior walls and partitions using metal studs and drywall, $18,000. Flooring, polished concrete on main level, wood on upper levels, $12,000. Kitchen with IKEA cabinets and mid-range appliances, $14,000. 2 bathrooms with standard fixtures, $11,000. Interior finishes including paint, doors, and trim, $8,000. Exterior cleaning, sandblasting, and protective coating, $6,200. Permits and inspection fees, $3,800. Contingency for unexpected issues, $12,900. Total renovation, $157,000. The result, Mark and Lisa have a 3,200 square foot home. They only finished 3 of the 4 floors. That's completely unique. The industrial aesthetic with concrete walls, steel details, and massive height is stunning. Their total investment of $185,000 for 3,200 finished square feet is $58 per square foot. A comparable new build in their area would cost $700,000 to $850,000. They saved over $500,000. The challenges they faced. Cutting openings in 12-inch thick reinforced concrete for windows was expensive and difficult. The concrete was harder than expected, and they broke 3 concrete saws. Extra cost, $3,200 beyond the estimate. Bringing utilities to a building that never had residential water or sewer required running lines 400 feet. This added $8,000 to plumbing costs. The height made everything difficult. Simple tasks like painting required scaffolding rental for weeks. Extra scaffolding costs, $2,800. Heating and cooling the tall space efficiently was challenging. Their energy bills are higher than anticipated, about $185 per month versus the $120 they budgeted. What they do differently? They would have installed more windows. The concrete structure feels dark with only 8 windows. Adding windows now would require cutting concrete again at enormous cost. They would have hired a general contractor instead of self-managing. The stress and time commitment was overwhelming. Mark estimates he spent 1,200 hours managing the project. They would have budgeted $200,000 instead of $150,000. The overruns caused financial stress. Project 2. The old firehouse transformation. James bought a 1920s firehouse that had been empty for 15 years. The purchase and assessment. Purchase price was $65,000. The building needed everything: new roof, new systems, complete interior renovation, but the brick structure and foundation were solid. James is an architect, so he did his own assessment, but he hired a structural engineer to confirm. Engineering inspection, $2,200. The renovation breakdown. New roof structure and asphalt shingles, $24,000. Tuck pointing and brick repair, $8,500. New windows, historically appropriate but modern performance, $16,000. Insulation, blown in cellulose and walls, spray foam and attic, $11,000. Interior demolition of old materials, $6,500. New electrical throughout, $18,500. New plumbing throughout, $19,000. HVAC, high-efficiency forced air system, $16,500. Interior framing for bedrooms and bathrooms, $14,000. Drywall and finishing, $15,000. Hardwood flooring throughout main level, $18,000. Kitchen with custom cabinets, $28,000. 3 bathrooms with mid to high-end fixtures, $21,000. Converting the bell tower into an office, $9,500. Refinishing the original fire pole, kept as a feature, $800. Exterior painting and details, for $1,200. Permits and fees, for $1,500. Contingency, $14,500. Total renovation, $198,000. The result, James has a 3,200 square foot home with incredible historic character. The exposed brick, original firehouse doors, bell tower office, and even the functional fire pole make this a showpiece. Total investment of $263,000 is $82 per square foot. The building has been featured in local magazines and historic preservation publications. The challenges he faced. Historic preservation restrictions limited what he could change on the exterior. He wanted larger windows, but wasn't allowed to alter the historic facade. He had to work within the existing window openings. Asbestos abatement cost $11,000 and wasn't in the original budget. Old buildings often contain asbestos in insulation, floor tiles, or siding. Professional removal is required by law. Lead paint remediation added another $3,800. Again, required for old buildings. The firehouse had no insulation in the brick walls. Adding insulation was difficult without furring out all the interior walls, which would have covered the exposed brick. He chose to leave brick exposed and accept lower energy efficiency. His heating bills are high, $220 per month in winter. What did he do differently? He would have budgeted for environmental remediation from the start. The asbestos and lead issues cost $14,800 and delayed the project by 6 weeks. He would have installed a more robust HVAC system. The building is hard to heat efficiently, and he undersized the system, trying to save money. Project 3. The Warehouse Transformation. Rachel and Tom bought a 1960s warehouse in an up-and-coming industrial neighborhood near Portland. The purchase and assessment. Purchase price was $140,000 for 5,800 square feet. The warehouse had good bones, steel frame, concrete floors, metal roof, but had been used for storage and was in rough condition. Structural assessment, $2,600. The renovation breakdown. Roof repair and coating, $18,000. New industrial-style windows and skylights, $32,000. Insulation, spray foam throughout, $38,000. Interior build-out creating bedrooms, bathrooms, and offices, $42,000. Electrical system upgrade and installation, $28,000. Plumbing, all new for residential use, $26,000. HVAC, zone system for the large space, $24,000. Polished concrete floors, $16,000. Kitchen with high-end appliances and custom cabinets, $48,000. 3 bathrooms with contemporary fixtures, $28,000. Interior finishes, drywall, paint, doors, trim, $24,000. Mezzanine level addition, steel and wood construction, $38,000. Exterior improvements, new doors, lighting, landscaping, $12,000. Permits and fees, $8,400. Contingency, $18,000. Total renovation, $312,000. The result: Rachel and Tom have a 5,800 square foot industrial loft that's worth $850,000 based on recent sales of comparable renovated warehouses in their neighborhood. Their total investment was $452,000. They have $398,000 in equity. The space is incredible. 18-foot ceilings, exposed steel beams, polished concrete, and floor-to-ceiling windows create a modern industrial aesthetic that's impossible to replicate in new construction. The challenges they faced. The neighborhood was in transition. When they bought, it was sketchy. They took a risk that the area would improve. It did, but it could have gone the other way. Financing was nearly impossible. No bank would give them a traditional mortgage on an industrial building being converted to residential. They used a commercial loan with higher interest, then refinanced to residential once the conversion was complete. The commercial loan cost them an extra $18,000 in interest. Zoning required a conditional use permit for residential in an industrial zone. This took 7 months to obtain and cost $12,000 in fees and legal work. Sound transmission was an issue. The warehouse is in an area with truck traffic and industrial activity. They had to add significant soundproofing, adding $11,000 to costs. What they do differently? They would have negotiated the purchase price harder. In hindsight, the building was overpriced at $140,000. They could have gotten it for $100,000 with patience. They would have finished less square footage initially. They renovated all 5,800 square feet but only use about 3,500. Finishing in phases would have reduced upfront costs by $80,000. The critical steps for any abandoned building project. Based on these 3 projects and others I've researched, here's the process you must follow. Step 1. Find a right building. Not every abandoned building is salvageable. Look for solid structure, intact foundation and walls, good roof or rebuildable roof, reasonable access to utilities, location where residential conversion is possible, and a price that leaves room for renovation costs. Drive rural areas and small towns. Talk to local real estate agents. Check auction sites. Join adaptive reuse and historic preservation groups online. Step 2. Do your due diligence. Before buying, investigate zoning and can the building legally be residential, structural integrity with professional engineer inspection, environmental issues including asbestos, lead, mold, contaminated soil, title issues and liens, utility availability and cost to connect, and neighborhood trajectory, and is the area improving or declining. Spend $5,000 to $10,000 on professional inspections and research before buying. This saves you from $100,000 mistakes. Step 3. Understand true renovation costs. Abandoned buildings almost always cost more to renovate than you estimate. Budget at least $80 to $150 per square foot for gut renovations of old buildings. This is higher than new construction per square foot, but you're getting unique features and locations. Always add 25 to 30% contingency for surprises. Old buildings hide problems. Step 4. Secure financing. Traditional mortgages don't work for abandoned buildings. Options include cash purchases, commercial loans, renovation loans like FHA, 203K, private money or hard money lenders, and partnerships with investors. Expect to need 30 to 50% down and higher interest rates than conventional mortgages. Step 5. Navigate permits and approvals. Changing a building's use from commercial to residential requires permits, zoning variances, or conditional use permits, building code compliance upgrades, fire safety and egress requirements, and health department approvals for septic or water, if applicable. This process takes 3 to 12 months in most jurisdictions. Factor this into your timeline. Step 6. Hire the right professionals. You need contractors experienced with renovation and adaptive reuse, an architect who understands old buildings, structural engineers, environmental remediation specialists if needed, and possibly historic preservation consultants. Don't hire the cheapest contractors. Experience with old buildings matters enormously. Step 7. Expect the unexpected. Every abandoned building has surprises. Hidden damage, code requirements that weren't anticipated, material availability issues, contamination, and cost overruns. Plan for delays and budget overruns. The advantages of abandoned building conversions. Why go through this complexity? Here are the genuine benefits. Cost savings. All 3 projects achieve costs well below new construction. The grain elevator was $58 per square foot. The firehouse was $82 per square foot. The warehouse was $78 per square foot. New construction in those areas runs $200 to $350 per square foot. Unique character. These homes are one of a kind. The architectural features, history, and character can't be purchased in new construction at any price. Larger spaces for less money. Old commercial buildings offer massive square footage. Getting 5,000 square feet in new construction costs $1 million plus. Renovating an old building can give you that space for $300,000 to $500,000. Location value. Many abandoned buildings sit in areas where land isn't available or is prohibitively expensive. The warehouse project is in a neighborhood where vacant lots sell for $300,000. Environmental benefits. Reusing buildings reduces waste and material consumption. This appeals to environmentally conscious buyers. Investment potential. Well-executed conversions in improving areas can generate significant equity. Rachel and Tom have $398,000 in equity after 2 years. The disadvantages and risks. Let's be brutally honest about what can go wrong. Hidden costs destroy budgets. All 3 projects went over budget. Asbestos, lead, structural surprises, code requirements. Budget overruns of 20 to 40% are common. Financing is difficult and expensive. Getting loans is hard. Interest rates are higher. Down payments are larger. Some buyers can't secure financing at all. Timelines are unpredictable. Permits, environmental issues, contractor availability, hidden problems. Projects take 50 to 100% longer than estimated. Zoning can kill projects. If you can't get zoning approval for residential use, you're stuck with an unusable building. Some buyers have lost entire investments this way. Resale can be challenging. Unique properties appeal to fewer buyers. Appraisers struggle to value them. Lenders hesitate to finance them for buyers. Selling can take longer and require pricing discounts. Energy efficiency is often poor. Old buildings are hard to insulate and heat efficiently. Energy costs can be 50 to 100% higher than new construction. Living in a construction zone. Renovations take months or years. Living on site during construction is difficult and stressful. The biggest mistakes people make. Here are the errors that turn abandoned building projects into nightmares. Mistake 1. Buying without professional inspections. Never buy an abandoned building based on your own assessment. Hidden structural damage, environmental contamination, or foundation issues can make a building unsalvageable. Spend $5,000 on inspections to avoid $200,000 disasters. Mistake 2. Underestimating renovation costs. First-time converters often budget $50 to $70 per square foot, thinking they're being conservative. Real costs are $100 to $200 per square foot for gut renovations. Budget realistically, or you'll run out of money halfway through. Mistake 3. Ignoring zoning before purchase. Confirm zoning allows residential use before you buy. Getting variances is uncertain and time-consuming. Some buyers have purchased buildings they legally can't live in. Mistake 4. Trying to DIY everything. These projects require professionals. Structural work, electrical, plumbing, environmental remediation. Trying to save money by doing it yourself often results in code violations, safety issues, and more expensive fixes later. Mistake 5. Not planning for financing gaps. Construction costs overrun. Lenders don't disburse all funds up front. You need cash reserves to bridge gaps. Running out of money with a half-finished project is devastating. Mistake 6. Ignoring environmental issues. Asbestos, lead, mold, soil contamination. These are expensive to remediate and required by law. Ignoring them results in fines, health risks, and inability to sell. Mistake 7. Falling in love before due diligence. Emotional attachment to a building before confirming feasibility leads to bad decisions. Stay objective until inspections, zoning, and financing are confirmed. The bottom line: turning abandoned buildings into homes can result in incredible unique properties at 50 to 70% below new construction costs. The grain elevator cost $185,000 for 3,200 square feet versus $700,000 for new construction. The firehouse cost $263,000 versus $650,000 new. The warehouse cost $452,000 and created $398,000 in equity. But these projects are complex, risky, and not for everyone. They require significant cash, patience, construction knowledge, and risk tolerance. Surprises are guaranteed. Costs will overrun. Timelines will extend. For the right buyer with realistic expectations, abandoned building conversions offer a path to extraordinary homes that simply can't be created through conventional means. That's the complete, honest guide to turning abandoned buildings into homes. If this inspired you or warned you away from a potential disaster, hit that like button and subscribe, because I'm bringing you more alternative housing solutions, real project breakdowns, and lessons from people who've actually done it. Drop a comment below. Have you seen an abandoned building you'd love to convert? What type of building would be your dream project? Let's talk about it. Thanks for watching. Remember, the most amazing homes are often hidden inside buildings that everyone else drives past without seeing the potential. See you in the next one.